Hello, world. I'd like to start off by saying thank you for this experience. We all got to realize that God works in truly mysterious ways, in ways that we don't ever seem to appreciate. Even I myself, as I sit here and smoke this cigarette and speak with y'all, just know that I'm not perfect and I don't put it on any judgment. I always believe that due to imperfection, that you can always work on perfecting, but you don't have to be perfect. Perfecting is the goal. I often think about how us as human beings and beings take everything for granted. I usually like to imagine more like my theory, but with my imagination, because I'm in this time of imagining how the original ones, the original chosen ones, God's chosen, just threw everything away, and how I could completely understand that, how and why. Could you imagine the things that people fall in love with nowadays? Gold, money, status, the ancient ones, born kings and queens. Something that, something like how we would pay millions of dollars for like a golden toilet. People, I can imagine people like them in their time, they were born with that golden toilet, those heated golden floors, golden walls, walls made of marble and gold, and the most expensive things that we would consider for today's time. Because they were born with those things, it didn't mean anything to them. You know, it's like as simple as us ourselves take breathing for granted. You know, we inhale, we exhale with a purpose for growth. Yet we don't really nurture that growth. I can easily see how back in those ancient times, and what I mean by ancient times, I mean like times of like far beyond what we consider the times of dinosaurs. True beings before Hugh ever became a subject. Everybody basically being a range of one skin tone. And I'm not making this about race, but when you study the concept of human beings and genealogy and the makeup and the breakdown of genomes and all that. It all kind of makes a spectacular puzzle piece to put together. I like to think about what people would call the tribe of Shabazz. Now, correct me if I'm jumping around everywhere, but the issue with the tribe of Shabazz where a tribe lived as one. They all stayed in one area, a massive, beautiful city. And God spoke, and a certain amount of those people heard God's voice. I can easily see them coming together and was like, "Hey, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Well, what was you told? Just just trying to confirm. Did you hear it or are you crazy?" God telling the people to go out into the forest and become strong. And you had another group that didn't hear the voice, who I can easily, compare it to today's times, kind of, you know, roast them a little bit, like what? You're gonna go out to the forest, among the trees and animals and stuff, and you're just gonna leave all this here? We already got everything. Why leave it? I guess that would be considered one of the first, one of the first times ever written of a display of faith. You know, and they left out there. They they left and went to that forest, and they did as they were told. They came back, and when they, if I'm thinking about this correctly, I would say around the time that they came back, the people of the city had had begun to have grandchildren. And if you can imagine how fast word of mouth gets, compared to today, you can imagine that word of mouth got around pretty quick in those times as well. But when those people came back, from the forest, they were made fun of. Like, look at how wide your nose is. Look at how dark your skin is. Look at how curly and nappy your hair is. Some people would say that that melanin in your skin would be considered God's compassion, an ability to fight off the harsh elements. I mean, like, not only that, but for anybody who ever studies, carbon or study computers, or if you're into precious metals, when you have that melanin and you go outside in the sun and you look at your skin, really look at it up close, like treating your eyes like a telescope. You see a lot of colors, like a metallic green, gold, red, like a shiny gold red, A lot of these colors all put together, purple, uh, all of them, blue, all those colors put together. And whenever you pull your eyes back, you see brown, tan. These things are like, it's like if people are willing to do all these things, for all those precious metals, why don't you step back and look at what precious metals already exist within, the spirit within, the soul within? Reflect on what you have, what you was born with. It is truly a blessing, a true blessing. Same as those ancient kings and queens who grew up around gold plated everything, who easily sold it off for next to nothing. And somebody bragged about it enough to where it was like, I'm willing to sell you what's already yours. It sounds foolish, but things like this happens. You know, a system of value. God truly does give in abundance. And it may be extremely small, but it's those small things that we all must learn to appreciate, to hold within ourselves, to constantly remind ourselves that we are unperfect perfection. And the only thing that we have to work on is who we are on the inside. How we treat others. How do we treat ourselves? And believe me, like I said, I'm not perfect. I just got done smoking a cigarette. That's definitely not treating myself like I used to treat myself as a child. When I was a kid, I didn't smoke cigarettes or anything like that. Wasn't allowed to curse. And I was totally okay with that until I began to learn from other people what was considered to be cool. a little small thing about myself. I used to be in Boy Scouts. I was a Boy Scout, church church boy, all those things that what most people would probably consider lame. And it was it was so weird because whenever I would be like at school the next day, I would just want to talk to people and share my experience of what I've done in Boy Scouts and how much fun I had out in the woods. And everybody's like, I'd rather be at the house, play a video game. I'd rather go hang out with my friends. And I was like, you can always invite your friends to be in Boy Scouts with you, or just go outside and have fun. It was it was odd because even though I wanted to express that to people, whenever I did express it, it was not a top topic of discussion. Everybody wanted to talk about the brand new Jordans, some little gold chain, some earrings, what this girl did, what this dude did, and I wasn't the type of person to talk about people behind their back. But it's not like I didn't participate because I try to have friends and I try to do exactly as they did, to the point where it kind of just made me lose myself, made me lose appreciation of things I've been through and what I've done, what have I accomplished. Oh man, even as I'm speaking about it, I'm still reflecting on it. I try to keep myself from reflecting all the time because if, if I'm not drawing, I'm reflecting. If I'm not keeping myself busy, I'm reflecting. Always looking at myself within and thinking about what I could have done and what I should have done. But that's not the way to be. God is always surrounding us, around us. Angels always surrounding us, around us. Our ancestors always around us, having our backs. We have to truly give thanks. World, I thank you for this experience. I'm not suicidal. I'm just, I just wonder who else is out there like that. You know? Who else tries to keep in touch with their inner child before that child was taught to conform to the ways of the world? Well, I like to say, everyone be blessed and bless a little bit for someone else.